is a living act of love created by the angelic brothers and sisters in our tribe. Now, you may not quite realize it at that level yet, but you soon will, because it's a literal thing. There is a time coming when someone pushes the button, and all of that technology of that super secret space program suddenly comes into being here in this earth reality, and it changes it with a finality. Now, I know a lot of people are going to have trouble with the idea of giving up the concept of job and money. But babies, when it happens, and all are provided for perfectly in every way, for every little want or need or desire that blossoms forward in your dreaming heart that has held this dream together for so long. And yes, it comes technologically first, but that's just the reminder as we graduate through the technology into our reality, see? It's another one of those stepping stones. Well prepared. I mean, we got these guys so enfevered that they nearly raped the entire earth. They bankrupted every country on earth to finance these programs into being, not realizing what they were really up to. They thought they were serving their own self-interest, as greedy little swiney, satanic little dogs, or however they perceive themselves, the grand kings of nothing and queens of insanity. I mean, it didn't work, did it? Yet it did in its own odd way. We compelled them so greatly through their emptiness to fulfill the fullness of the light, they couldn't help themselves. They were so self-deceived that it's easy to deceive the deceivers now, isn't it? You've done a little of that in your time, haven't you? Just for practice. I have. I like to see if it works. I mean, I don't lie, I don't cheat, I don't steal, nothing like that. But yeah, I will convey a truthful image to a person in a metaphorical way that's kind of a joke thing. Of course, I'm a coyote, that's what I do. And then you start to see that life is like a metaphor. The coyote joke is everywhere, even in the deepest and highest and most secretive places. You see? And we're running to a standstill with it. A sweet moment where there are no longer any requirements on any one of us of any sort. That we're all just in it for the love. And to be real. And to come back to life in this heart. That is our reality. Then creation can move on with itself. For we're the dreaming little baby bums that makes it all happen. And that's why there's been such conflict here. But look, the next level is that conflict's with ourselves. There's nothing evil, nor is there anything good. It's all alive. It's all love in motion. You see, and now we're letting go of the dramatic side of it. That felt inequity and injustice and cast its pain and burdens across the vast time frames of humanity, man. I can feel it releasing, unburdening, even as I sit here speaking with you, sharing it with you, this grand love of life that I embrace so greatly, and I feel you doing it too, babies. Don't ever let that feeling go. Just let it grow. A gift from 9,000 feet high in the Rocky Mountain sky, and from your very own heart too, baby. We're so together in this, all of us. There is no conflict. There is no division. There is no disparity. There's only love in motion, and quite happily so. So says Grandpa here on that hazy radio. Now we're getting it clear, dear. Now let's rock it in, shall we? Music therapy for your open eyes, your open, conscious presence. Welcome home, babies. It's happening. Ain't it great? And true to myself, and loving to myself, etc. And because I can do that, and it's not greedy, and it's not empty, it's not based on any sense of selfishness or a need for worship or anything like that. It's just me, in my little rocking chair of life, telling you a few stories and helping us get it underway and playing a whole lot of tunage to help your heart enlarge. Yeah, really enlarge and get as broad as the universe itself and more expansive than that even, I once saw the universe as just a tiny little ornament on a huge tree of life, and there were a gazillion ornaments on that tree, man. You know, and each one of them was another universe. See, it's all about perspective, babies. And see, when you see it that way, then it seems kind of divided, but it really isn't. And there really aren't even ornaments. Those are the blossoms on the tree, the universes, or the experiential side, the sharing of the great wealth of life the tree of life feels inside of itself, the celebration of that life then as it rises through the blossoms into the spectacular nature of creation around it, babies. That's our truth. That's our reality. And that's what we're manifesting right here in this reality, this day, as we get even more of it underway, as we open just a little more. I mean, it is Magnificent Monday, which leads to Tripping Tuesday, so we're tripping through the magnificence right now and getting ourselves ready for what is now. See, we don't have to go there. We don't have to be in Tuesday. We're right here. Wednesday, not even Monday, really. That's just some bullshit somebody wrote on a Greek calendar somewhere and called it French and then Gregorian, and I don't know. It got messed up quite a bit, didn't it? You know, the dudes down there in Central America had it a whole lot better, those Mayas, but even they didn't have it together, babies. You know, you got to remember what else was going on in their reality, you know. There was still a bloodthirstiness there, an emptiness that had to be served, you know, despite the enlightened nature of these beings a few thousand years ago. Do you know how many? That's just a little example, a little flare in the longer term of life. Do you know how many times we've been right there on the edge of enlightenment, but yet stepped back from it and blew ourselves all to hell or smothered ourselves under earthquakes or whatever, you know? We've done this so many times, guys. Because we like coming back for more. Well, this time when we're coming back in this spaceship love, and we're going to even the score because we're not going away anywhere. We live here. We are here. We are this place. We are this earth. We are this sky and all that lives in it. Yes, indeed. And as we extend ourselves in that way, we see ourselves living in that way in creation, and everything is changed. So babies, prepare yourselves, because the world around you is going to go to sleep for a while. It has to, in order for us to reprogram. We can't do it any other way, like I said. If we had to do it one step at a time, there's a whole bunch of generations we got to go through more, and enough is enough, you know. I mean, it's spring break now. We get to party, man. It's March. It's bleeding on to April. It's spring break, man. Pop them brassieres, man. Let's get it clear down there in the love beaches, man, and just have ourselves, you know, a darn good time. And we don't have to be all raucous like the crazy old college kids have been, because we're still even younger than that. We're innocent children. So we might even go for a little skinny dipping, but there ain't going to be no wild-ass shit, except for the wildness of the nature of our heart given in that innocent way. See, that's what partying with the angels is, and yeah, you're naked as the day you're born, because that's what feels right. How else can you unite with your reality? See, that's what symbolically we've done with our lovemaking. Notice we have to get naked, or at least most of us anyway, you know, in order to feel right about it, to feel good, to feel open for it, etc., to participate in it, you see. Well, and that nakedness is the telling of the tale I'm about to tell you now. You see, a long time ago, there were these presences, and they were like a king and a queen, let's say, in some part of what we would call England now, but this was not English. This was some other aspect of the English that doesn't like to admit that they're even related. Now you know what I'm talking about, okay? If you got any kind of intelligence and heart attachment to us, you know what I'm saying. So there was this king and this queen. They were young when they were united by the vessels of love and the auspices of the church in a grand ceremony of marriage that says, more of a mirage than a marriage, wouldn't you say? As the poor dear began to realize after the day had gone away and there was night now, and she thought, oh God, do I have to? He says, no. I'm the king, don't you know? You got your squires, you got your servants, you got your horsemen. You know, you don't need me. This is just a symbolic thing, baby, and I don't care the bloodstream of my children. They're as good from a squire as they are from me. Mixes it up a little bit, don't you see? We need to get out of this inbreeding way anyway, man. Just drags us down, you know. Now, this was a pretty wise king to be speaking this way at like the age of 17, 18, 19, something like that, you know. Pretty damn wise, to say the least. At the same time, you know, burdened with his father's tremendous unblessing, which essentially had been not a very good place. I mean, his father had been a very cruel tyrant and really had cast darkness upon the lands and had suppressed the people's feelings to the point they had almost gone away. So he thought perhaps in engaging in this young marriage, as prearranged as it might be, would indeed bring his people's heart back to the royalty, to the aspect of royalty that he represented, you know, and her as well. For her form was completely delightful, her beauty was beyond comprehension, and her radiance was like, wow, a shining star in the sky. He couldn't help but love her. But he also knew better than to try to participate in that sky. For he was not cloud, he was made of earth. Really firm kind of earth, like, you know, the Stonehenge down the street. He made it, you know, that cold, rigid stuff. And he really couldn't be what she wanted him to be, of course, and he knew that quite naturally, and he was just sharing with her honestly. So she understood her role, and that she could go forward now and properly play it. But of course, some aspect of that goes to the head sometimes. And the poor dear, you know, found herself being rather undivine in time. And the king gone most of the time doing battle with the rages and the sages, etc., you know, out there across the land defending his people. Oh, yeah. Just trying to find a life for the people, trying to create an avenue by which they could move forward into enlightenment. Because out of his cold stone heart came a reality, a truth. He couldn't be like Daddy was. He couldn't be even like his grandfather was. He was a good and gracious person. He had embraced that. He was so compassionate, he would let the ultimate lover go. Because he knew she needed so much more than he could give. So it was to the people's heart that he dedicated himself. And it was with them that he made his love in his dreaming times at night. And you know what? Everything turned out all right between those two. It just took a little time, a few more generations, you know. And really the king and the queen were sharing their royalty with everyone there. It was the most auspicious thing they could do. And so they set about it too, and consciously present in it. Once they'd worked it out. It took a few years to figure this one out. But once they did, they realized the divinity of the people around them, that they just held this space, this light, so others could learn to love themselves and appreciate themselves in the same way, and not have to hold others above or below themselves in any way, but be alive in the life. Now we're talking, maybe 1,000, 12, 1,500 years ago, something like that, when times were pretty dark, but people were still pretty bright. They just weren't allowed much. There was no freedom in that stifling reality, yet came a pair of royalty that finally came to understand and work by the plan and hold nothing but love for one another, the deepest of respect. So instead of being this bitter, separate old couple with all their separate old lovers, etc., they were divinely appreciative of one another's heart and of what they could share with the people. They found their way by being that way, by just allowing it to be, to recognize they were sincerely different from all that had been given in the generations before. There wasn't a flick of tyrant inside either one of them. Only a desire to be alive in the people's hearts again, so they could feel right about themselves. And therefore they set about making it right with the people, and gave forward with provisions where serfs could hold lands, and even become land barons after a while if they played their cards right. Provided opportunity for those that had little left but their own skin. Gave them a little upstart. Back in that medieval sort of way. Maybe just provided them with a horse or a little sack full of gold or something like that. Just something to get them going. But secretly, quietly, not where anybody would know. See, he'd been instructed by his own magician, and her too, just to keep it subtle like that. It'd be visible, it'd be open, but you don't want the people to get the idea that, ooh, you're an easy mark, so you do this real quietly. So there's not, a rebellion, but a deepening of the grand affection for the royal pair, which then reflects back to those worshiping that same thing. So they see that in themselves. This was a great turnaround back in the medieval times, and sure, it was a little flash in the pan, only lasted a few years. But these people put together the most divine government known in the last few thousand years of this earth, simply by being kind to the people and allowing their presence to be divine in the presence of royalty. They got off the high horse, in other words, and took the same ride as everyone else, and beautifully so. Now do you see how we transform this earth, blossom like the fragrant rose of life that we are, given in the most vibrant and spectacular and colorful and fragrant of ways, a fragrance that is undivided from all reality, a breath that is breathed in every soul living, and all presences that accommodate those living presences, which are living presences too. Though rigid and fixed they may have seemed before, they don't anymore. All flows with us. All goes with us as we ascend. Take that ride in the sky in our own little spaceship love, the city of light, from which we ignite life into being. Here in the Mother Earth reality. In the ethers is it given, and from the ethers it is made. And of the ethers is our love given in this form, in this place of now, which is the and how, and the where is, and the whereas, and the whereofs, and all the other things you can think of that find an expressive moment here. A joining of the hands, a simple thing like that, is a joining of the heart that lasts forever. And that divine pair understood that. Ain't that rocking? Now you got Grandpa talking here in that coyote sort of way, dishing out that coyote medicine, would you say, on the Hazy Radio Network. Your ticket to flight, man. How's that for daylight, eh? Take it away, baby. No, Kid Rock, man, haven't seen you for a bit. Get on with it, dude. You'll find your heart's delight manifesting right before your very eyes and right inside your hide. Babies, where you take that magic carpet ride and set yourself free by hearing the call of these grand ancestors who are, yes, of course, angelic presences too, involved in the dramatic side of life. The rock and the roll, the rhythm and the grit, the stuff from which shit is made, man. The basic elemental life, the rooting of the blood in the heart, the golden heart of the mother love, the sun shining inside her soft sweet hide too, babies. Ooh, are you beginning to see what kind of ride we're on right now, babies? You know, it's a rockin' reality, and it has been, and it's been real crazy. And it seemed like the darkness is just about to clamp down on all of us and send us all off to some strange little prison camp somewhere where they can torment us even further, etc. Yet that vision just doesn't hold the reality of the ancestral energy now, does it? See, we've paid our dues. We've paid our toll long time ago. We don't have to pay no more. We've been through it so many times before that we've evened the score and then some. We've ripened ourselves, and we've really enjoyed it in a spiritual way. When our heart's there, we see it clear, dear, and we get it here too. I mean, there she is, sitting on top of a small mountain out there in the Red Rock country, a little knoll you'd really call it, those up there about 3,000 to 4,000 feet in elevation, but about only a few hundred feet above the land around it. a little rounded rock. It's got sand all around it and a few trees growing on top of it. And behind one of those, she's found a little privacy screen that will keep her from the prying eyes of all them silly oil rigs going by on that highway a half-mile away. Wow, wouldn't you say? Stashed her car good, too, so nobody could see. She knew what she was up to. She knew what would be. Yet, as she approached the hill, her heart was just a-racing. Sweat was pouring from her brow and her armpits, too, man, and she didn't know what else there would be. But she knew it would be free, and that she would be finally. After all this time, a whole 27, 29 years, maybe somewhere in there, 35, well, that's pushing it. She hadn't been around that long, man, but she'd been around for a while, enough to know how the dirty deeds are done here, you know. 'Cause she's so sure fallen victim to 'em a time or two, and really, despising herself for it, yet knowing this presence that called, this eagle that flew before her slick little convertible, just told her how. She felt it. She didn't hear it. She felt it. She knew she had to take that next little turnoff and follow that winged being, that bird of love, that bird of prey, which was really angelic forms in every way, given presently right there before her car. Even showed her where to park, where to hide, down beneath that other little knoll right there. See, nobody can see you from the highway. Nobody will know you're there. Except for maybe the satellites, but who cares? The satellite is what it is, man, and we are what we are, and it's all okay. She was hearing the call of her ancestors, for sure. Meantime, back at the ranch, there's old Sam sitting at his computer, playing on Facebook again, trying to hook himself a fairly decent woman out of that mass of humanity out there that just seemed to be caught up in such grand insanity. Was there no one out there that could match his energy and his ways and somehow get along with him so he'd have a little companionship, to help the ranch along and keep life really strong? But he wasn't taking it all that serious these days. He was just letting it be and just letting it play. And he'd already made the mistake of meeting a couple of them along the way and had already decided maybe that wasn't the way to play, but was still open, wasn't quite dead yet in the head. Going on 45 to 55, I'd say, a little older than he ought to be, wouldn't you say? No connection between them other than that, except for that faint call of the ancestors that gets stronger and stronger. He don't even see the eagle flying above his humble little residence. He don't even know, yet somehow he's catching that flow, and he's amazed at the wisdom that flows off his tiny little fingers as he types out a few tawdry little comments here and there, amazed at how clear they are. And messages to himself, too, like personal, like wow, and how. He's getting the feeling now. He's getting the glow. Something's lighter about himself, don't you know? And there she is, back on that hill. The sun is bright and right overhead. It must be midday already, man. And there's the eagle flying before the sun to eclipse it if he could, because he's the one. And she knows that, too, as she sheds her threads and feels the bright light of sun upon her hide. Oh my God, what a ride. Because in that sun is the divine one, the revelation, the transition, the union of earth and sky. Mother love arising to greet her man, her son, the only one. The sun inside her sweet little hide, the sun inside this earth too. The ancestors now cheering, not just calling, for they see the radiant love that is to be, and that will forever be in this reality, with such great, finally, totality, a reality, beyond the comprehension of the old ones, who had lived it so long ago they'd forgotten it by now, don't you know? But there it is, coming back to life on top of that hill. And that man so divided from her, probably cross continents, you know, sitting over there in the western part of the U.S., or perhaps down there in California somewhere, maybe even northern Mexico, can't quite tell. It's a bit of a desert environment, too. So they're both out in the desert, but they're both finding a blossoming call of the heart of the ancestors manifesting forward inside of themselves. And suddenly he feels an involuntary impulse to depart. The presence of the internet, the comfy little snuggle down den that he has so much fun in, and get his butt out there and ride his horse out onto the mountains, go check on the sheep, go check on the cows, go check on the corn, something, just get moving, man. He feels it. And like the dude, the willing man that he is, he follows that flow. And then he sees the eagle, don't you know, and follows that one too. And soon he's there, up on a ridge, high above his little Rancho de Luxo, all alone, 150 miles from anything civilized except for himself. Yet it all is feeling so real. There's a glow in the life around him, in the pinyons and the ponderosa and the quaking aspen along the creek. God, what a gorgeous place to be. What a nice life. What a gracious gift of the ancestral energies he'd inherited here in this Rancho de Luxo, wouldn't you say? But the inheritance is far larger than just a little piece of land upon which you can feel grand. And he begins to understand as his threads do depart. And there he is, exposed right to the heart in the same grand sunlight. And my God, upon his skin, wow, like a blast furnace, yet sweet, cool, reassuring. And the fire, the flame, arises in the heart. And from his person does depart, or expand, let's say, because it's not departed in any way. It's just rising up from there, that center place in the chest. Because he hears the ancestors the best. And they have called this forward in the dancing eagle in the sky before the sun, the same one, which casts no shadow. In fact, wow, you can see the sun right through him. Translucent one. Perhaps this is the angelic presence. Perhaps this is the angelic way. But in a flash he sees coyote? No. Eagle. Eagle. And then he hears a rustle in the brushes. And yes, indeedy, coyote. But on the ground, not in the air. Coyote looking. Coyote with mischief in his lair. Mischief in his heart. Mischief coming forward, says, hey, brother, you want a new start? And brother says, Grandfather Coyote, what you doing here? I thought I was up here to get it clear. And Grandpa say, you just found the way through that little coyote, and then he disappear. And the man finds himself rising up to join the woman in the sky, in the sun, as one. And from there, baby, the picture starts to get clear here on this earth, in this reality, this universe. And that's why it feels or seems like it's collapsing. It's the vision, the perception, the reality that's changing. Aided and abetted by all that's gone on in the background here for the last billion years, man. The entire energy of all the ancestral martyrs, and let's call them what they are, because many have martyred themselves or allowed themselves to be taken and sacrificed to the greater good, when they could have easily lived, another 30, 40, 50 years and had a great time. But oh no, there comes that moment you got to roll instead of rock. And sometimes you do it because just like these people, are rising to the top of a ridge 3 continents apart, yet together in the heart, so together in the heart, they rise into the sun as one. And then the vision is clear. And division is no more, don't you know, dear? And people, asleep, falling to the ground, with their face down, coming back up, clear, light, love, feeling, knowing themselves differently than they ever have before. This world, this earth, she has changed. And all are provided for by the twin eagles that fly across the sun, and through their eyes create the reality without hate. And there is peace across the land, the seas, the skies, the atmospheres. And it grows outward from here, the grand blossom of life, my dear, because you heard and followed the flow of the ancestors when they called, don't you know? So that's the medicine of this morning here on the Coyote Medicine Show, flowing your way, and grandly so, yet simply taken. See if you can just allow yourself to be delighted with what you have in life right now, no matter what it might be or what difficulty might be going on to. When you can just see it this way, you've got the child of the universe in your heart alive and manifesting the dream that it has carried with itself since the separation between earth and sky began. Before that, all gathered in to a singularity of experience, such as what we're stepping into now. It goes in stages and steps, but this one of now, the beautiful beginning, the beautiful moment in time ancestors have served for again and again, ourselves many times over. And now we begin to see the joy in our seasons under the sun, as well as within that one, to which we always return when we transition. The golden light of life, which becomes the rainbow of love, the steady nurturing of the mother heart, born inside the Father too, given as one, not two. Three, yeah, maybe, Son, and two birded, feathered wings of flight. Well, I guess that's four wings, isn't it? One on each side, right? Don't worry about Grandpa. We'll get it right. You see, there's the triunity. It's the clear view. And in the triunity is the oneness. The two eagles and the sun are one. And by golly, if that sun don't have wings too, man. How about you? I think they're growing. I think we're ready, babies. I think we're flowing in that direction, don't you? Oh, baby. The dawn of revealing is right here, right now, inside your heart, and manifesting in the life around you as you allow yourself to rise up out of the drama through what you feel. The love, the power of this opening heart, and the innocent dream hidden there so long ago. We didn't think we'd ever find it again, yet we always knew, and now we know. And manifest it. How about that, babies? You're getting it on. It's Grandpa helping you sing your heart song. This Coyote way on this beautiful, magnificent Monday. You ready to join the rebellion, which is the revolution, which is not rebellion at all, which is simply put, doing the same thing you see those beings doing in that little story, that metaphorical tale we just shared with you today. Let yourself get out and get some sunlight. You'll start to feel it right. Now, I'm not advocating necessarily going and doing what they've done, but whatever form it takes for you, follow your heart, follow your flow. Be out in the sun, don't you know? They can't block it out. I don't care if it's a cloudy day. Get out there anyway. The sun's there, and it'll be there for you, too. Because the eagle will clear it with his feathered, fluffy little wings. You know, just push them clouds out of the way. That's what eagles do sometimes when you pay attention, that is. Then you get the retention. You start to see how things really work here. How gathered together and synchronistic everything that can be is. And in being is in service in its heart to all else that lives and loves itself so for it. As do you and me and all the rest of us, setting ourselves free to be that which we are. And let the old nest egg hatch out, eh, babies? I'm telling you, stand back, stand back. Who knows what's going to come out of that shell? Whew. Once we dissolve away the living hell, eh? I think we just did, babe. Love you so. Thank you so much. From Grandpa Coyote and the Coyote Medicine Show, here on the ever-loving Hazy Radio.